Zachary Ross never expected to find three dying alien children during a routine cargo inspection. But as he stares at the hidden stasis pod containing the small Draconis offspring, he knows their discovery will either spark an interstellar war or prove humanity's compassion extends beyond Earth's boundaries. The scanner in his hand beeps steadily as he moves through Cargo Bay 7 of Earth's orbital station Alpha, casting a blue glow across the supposedly empty merchant vessel from the Centauri Trading Coalition. The device picks up an anomalous energy signature behind a false panel. With practiced movements, Zachary removes the panel, revealing a sleek stasis pod designed for medical transport. Inside, three small reptilian forms float in suspension fluid. Their scaled bodies bear the distinctive crest markings of the Draconis Empire, but something's wrong. The largest child's wing membranes are shriveled and malformed. The middle one's chest cavity shows severe deformities around the breathing apparatus. The smallest's limbs are truncated, barely developed. Zachary's combat medic training from his Mars Colonial Defense Force days kicks in as he accesses the pod systems. The children equivalent to human ages 8, 6, and 4 have less than 24 hours before total system failure. A data crystal attached to the pod tells their story, rejected by their militaristic society for their defects, abandoned to die in deep space. The merchant crew had planned to destroy the evidence by dropping the pod into Earth's atmosphere. Station Command, this is Ross in Cargo Bay 7. I need a medical team immediately, he reports, already knowing the political powder keg he's igniting. Commander Victor Morale's response comes swiftly. Return the pod to the merchant vessel. That's an order. We cannot risk antagonizing the Draconis Empire. Zachary's hands tighten on his scanner. The Draconis, with their obsession with genetic purity, have repeatedly rejected Earth's offers to share medical technology. Their nearest outpost is 72 hours away. The children's homeworld lies 15 light-years distant. Simple math tells him they'll never survive the journey. As he studies the three small forms Lyra, Kex, and Tarn, according to the pod's records, Zachary weighs his options. Earth's advanced medical facilities could save them, give them new lives. But helping them means defying direct orders and risking the fragile peace with an empire that already views humanity's rapid technological advancement as a threat. The youngest child, Tarn, shifts slightly in the suspension fluid, malformed limbs moving in some dream or nightmare. Border tensions with the Draconis Empire be damned. Zachary Ross didn't spend years saving lives as a combat medic to watch children die for political convenience. He begins entering the medical override codes into the pod's control panel. Sometimes being human means choosing compassion over consequences. Zachary's fingers flew across the pod's control panel, medical override codes streaming onto the display. A soft chime confirmed his access, but warning indicators showed the life support systems degrading faster than anticipated. He activated his comm unit. Dr. Marcus Morales, please respond. Medical emergency in Cargo Bay 7. This is Morales. The voice crackled through the speaker, carrying the same authoritative tone as his brother, the station commander, but tempered with a healer's patience. Doc, I need you here now. 3 critical patients, xenobiology time-sensitive. Zachary kept his voice steady, professional, masking the urgency burning in his chest. Within minutes, the medical bay doors hissed open. Doctor. Morales strode in, medical kit in hand, dark circles under his eyes suggesting another marathon shift in the station's trauma center. He froze at the sight of the stasis pod. Draconis children, Zachary said, gesturing to the pod's readouts. Genetic abnormalities, pod failure imminent. Marcus studied the displays, his expression hardening. Victor ordered you to return them. Yes. Well, Marcus pulled up his sleeves, revealing the same Mars Colonial Defense tattoo Zachary wore. Good thing I never listened to my brother anyway. Initiate Protocol 7 Alpha. The quarantine alert blared through the cargo bay. standard procedure for potential biological contamination, and perfect cover for moving the children to medical. Emergency medtechs arrived with a mobile stasis unit. While they transferred the pod, Marcus reviewed the genetic data on his tablet. These deformities, our regenerative protocols might work. The base genetic structure is compatible. That's illegal under Draconis law, Zachary noted, helping secure the pod for transport. So is saving their lives, apparently. Marcus' fingers danced across the tablet. I'm initiating primary genetic sequencing. We'll need the main medical bay's processing power. The journey through the station's corridors passed in a blur of efficient movement and medical jargon. In the main medical bay, Marcus immediately began calibrating the genetic therapy pod's technology, originally designed for reconstructing wounded Mars colonists. Zachary watched the smallest child, Tarn, as medtechs carefully transferred him to the treatment chamber. The malformed limbs triggered memories of soldiers he'd treated after mining accidents, their bodies crushed but spirits unbroken. Commander on deck. A technician's warning came too late. Victor Morales stormed into the medical bay, his face flushed. Marcus, explain yourself. Treating 3 critical patients, Marcus replied without looking up from his work. Unless you're planning to physically stop me. The brothers locked eyes. Years of unspoken tension crackled between them. You have 48 hours, Victor finally said. After that, I report to Earth Central. As Victor left, a new figure entered, James Morrison, the Centauri trading representative. His expensive suit looked out of place among the medical equipment. Mr. Ross, Morrison's voice carried a careful neutrality. A word. In a quiet corner, Morrison showed Zachary his tablet. The merchant crew that transported these children, they're part of something bigger. Look at these shipping manifests. The data showed dozens of similar medical waste shipments, all originating from Draconis space. Each manifest carried the same coded annotations. A warning klaxon cut through their conversation. The long-range sensor operator's voice filled the medical bay. Draconis patrol fleet detected, bearing 03 Mark 7. Estimated arrival, 36 hours. Marcus looked up from Kex's treatment chamber, where the child's breathing had already improved. We need 72 hours for genetic stabilization. Zachary studied the 3 children floating in their treatment pods. In one, Tarn's limbs showed the first signs of cellular regeneration. He activated his comm unit. This is Ross. I need to speak with anyone who served in the Mars Colonial Defense Force. Meeting in Recreation Module 6, 20 minutes. He'd need every ally he could find. The real challenge wasn't just saving these 3 lives, it was proving that humanity's compassion could overcome centuries of prejudice and fear. The medical bay systems hummed with activity as the treatment protocols continued their work, each passing minute bringing both healing and the approaching Draconis fleet closer to their inevitable confrontation. The medical bay's diagnostic panel chimed as Kex's latest vitals scrolled across the screen. Dr. Marcus Morales studied the readings, a slight smile crossing his tired features. Respiratory function at 82% and climbing. She's responding better than expected. Zachary moved to the adjacent treatment pod where Tarn floated, the child's previously stunted limbs now showing clear signs of cellular regeneration. The bone density scans revealed accelerated growth patterns along the major skeletal structures. Marcus, look at this. Zachary pointed to an anomaly in Lyra's wing membrane readings. The tissue rejection rate is increasing. Marcus frowned, adjusting the treatment parameters. The wing structures are more complex than we anticipated. Standard regenerative protocols aren't sufficient. The medical bay's comm system crackled. Dr. Morales, Commander Morales requests your presence in operations immediately. In operations, Victor's expression was grim as he replayed the transmission from Earth Central Command. The holographic display showed 3 Draconis warships, their distinctive blade-like profiles cutting through space. High Commander Xerxes commands the fleet, Victor said, his voice tight. He's known for executing genetic law violators on sight. James Morrison stepped forward, tablet in hand. There's more. Those children there from Xerxes's own bloodline, his sister's offspring. The room fell silent. Marcus gripped the edge of the command console. That explains the aggressive response. He's not just enforcing their laws, he's eliminating evidence. Implementing Containment Protocol Alpha, Victor announced, entering commands into the station's security system. All non-essential personnel are to evacuate Medical Sector 6 immediately. Cite potential viral contamination. Security teams moved with practiced efficiency, establishing defensive positions around the medical bay's perimeter. Zachary gathered a group of former Mars colonial defense veterans in the medical bay's auxiliary storage room. Focus on emergency transport procedures. Zachary demonstrated the proper technique for disconnecting and relocating the treatment pods. If we need to move them, we'll have minutes, not hours. The station's alert system pulsed as a sleek Earth diplomatic shuttle docked. Colonel Marcus Hayes strode into operations, his formal uniform contrasting with the station's utilitarian aesthetic. He handed Victor a secured data crystal. Intelligence indicates a reformation movement within the Draconis military, Hayes explained, activating a classified briefing display. Younger officers are questioning the genetic purity doctrine. This situation could be the catalyst they need. In the medical bay, Kex's eyes opened. Her scaled fingers pressed against the pod's transparent surface as she tracked Marcus's movement. Her voice, transmitted through the pod's communication system, was soft but clear. "Others like us," she said, her translator converting Draconis speech patterns to standard English. "Hidden away, disposed of. But some survive." Marcus activated a neural imaging sequence, documenting the successful neural pathway regeneration. Every piece of evidence matters now. The station's sensor array detected new contacts at the edge of its range. 2 additional ships, their hull configurations matching known Draconis designs but bearing distinct markings. "Reform movement vessels," Hayes confirmed, analyzing the sensor data. "Commander Raxus leads them. He's been tracking Xerxes's movements." Victor authorized emergency power allocation to the medical bay systems. "Marcus, what's the minimum time required for Lyra's wing regeneration?" With modified human stem cell protocols, Marcus ran the calculations. 48 hours. But Xerxes arrives in 24. Zachary initiated a series of rapid-fire simulations on his tactical display, mapping potential evacuation routes and defensive positions. The station's modular design offered multiple fallback points, but each carried its own risks. "Commander," the sensor operator called out, "Draconis fleet has adjusted course. They're accelerating." Victor studied the tactical display, watching as 5 Draconis ships, 3 warships, and 2 reform vessels converged on his station. The next 24 hours would reshape more than just 3 children's lives. In the medical bay, Tarn took his first unassisted steps within the treatment pod's confined space, his newly formed limbs responding to neural commands with increasing precision. Through the pod's observation window, his eyes met Zachary's, conveying a depth of understanding that transcended species barriers. The station's central computer began tracking multiple approaching vessels, their signatures blazing across monitoring stations throughout the command center. Time was running out. Zachary's gaze shifted from Tarn's eyes back to the monitoring stations as alert indicators flashed across multiple screens. The approaching vessel's signatures triggered a cascade of automated defensive protocols throughout Station Alpha. "Time to arrival." Victor's voice came through the comm. 12 hours, sir," the sensor operator responded. All 5 vessels maintaining current trajectory and acceleration. In the medical bay, Dr. Marcus Morales initiated the modified stem cell treatment for Lyra's wings. "Cellular integration at optimal levels," he announced, adjusting the treatment parameters. "But we need 36 hours for proper stabilization." "We don't have 36 hours," Zachary said, already moving toward the door. "I need Engineering Team Beta in Maintenance Bay 4. Chief Engineer Sarah Martinez met him at the Maintenance Bay entrance, her tools already laid out. "I've got 6 decommissioned emergency shuttles we can strip for parts," she said, pointing to the vessels lined against the far wall. "Life support systems are still functional." They worked rapidly, converting the space into a secondary medical facility. Martinez's team extracted portable life support units while Zachary configured them for Draconis physiology. A loud clang echoed through the bay as Martinez dropped her scanner. "Ross," she called out, her voice tense. "You need to see this." Inside the children's original stasis pod, Martinez had uncovered a sophisticated quantum transmission beacon. "This isn't Draconis tech," she said, running her diagnostic tool over its surface. "This is ours. Human manufacturing, high-end stuff." James Morrison appeared in the doorway, his usual composed demeanor slipping. Martinez held up the beacon. "Care to explain this?" Morrison closed the maintenance bay door. "The Centauri Trading Coalition has been operating a rescue network for years," he said, pulling up encrypted data on his tablet. "Those shipping lanes you saw, they're part of a larger system. We save as many children as we can." Colonel Hayes strode into the medical bay as Kex's voice carried clearly through the pod's communication system. "The disposal facilities," she said, her translator converting her words. "They're not always final. Some of us survive, some find help." Hayes activated his secure recorder, documenting every word as Dr. Morales monitored her improving vital signs. Security Chief Jackson's team moved methodically through the medical sector, installing non-lethal containment fields. "Grid 7 online," he reported, checking the deployment pattern. "Configured for neural disruption, non-damaging frequencies only." In Recreation Module 6, Zachary drilled his volunteer medical response team. Lieutenant Rodriguez demonstrated proper handling of the specialized Draconis medical equipment, while others practiced rapid transport procedures. "Movement must be smooth," Rodriguez emphasized, adjusting a portable stabilizer. "Any sudden acceleration could disrupt cellular regeneration." The station's comm system activated with an urgent tone. "Commander, priority transmission incoming," the communications officer announced. "Source verified as Reform Movement Vessel, Commander Raxus." Victor's fingers flew across his console, decrypting the incoming data stream. His eyes widened as he reviewed the contents: hundreds of documented cases, rescued children, underground networks spanning the Empire. In the medical bay, Tarn took another step within his pod, his movements growing more confident. Kex's breathing had stabilized completely, her scaled chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. Lyra's wing membrane showed the first signs of successful regeneration, the tissue taking on a healthy, iridescent sheen. 6 hours, Victor's voice came through the station-wide comm. "All personnel, implement Operation Sanctuary protocols immediately." Colonel Hayes moved between stations and operations, coordinating the multi-layered response plan. Security teams took positions at key junctions, while medical staff prepared for potential casualties. Engineering crews made final adjustments to the station's shield harmonics. The sensor array tracked the approaching vessels, their signatures growing stronger with each passing minute. Within the medical bay, 3 children continued their healing process, unaware that their recovery had become the catalyst for something far larger than their individual survival. Martinez's engineering team completed the secondary facility's final power connections, as Zachary verified the backup life support systems. Every preparation, every contingency, every defensive measure pointed toward one inevitable moment: the arrival of High Commander Xerxes's fleet, and whatever consequences that arrival would bring. The sensor operator's voice cut through the tension. 4 hours to intercept. Draconis fleet maintaining formation. Doctor. Marcus Morales monitored Lyra's treatment pod as new data scrolled across his screen. The modified stem cell protocols showed unprecedented acceleration in wing membrane development. Victor, the new treatment's working. Growth rate triple what we projected. The pod's observation window revealed delicate structures taking form, gossamer-thin membranes stretching between newly formed supports. Lyra floated in the nutrient bath, her wings beginning to unfold with an iridescent sheen. Incoming transmission, the comm officer announced. High Commander Xerxes. The holographic display activated, revealing a Draconis officer whose scales bore the deep purple of high rank. Station Alpha, surrender the genetic contaminants immediately or face the consequences of your defiance. Victor stood straight, hands clasped behind his back. High Commander, before you make threats, I suggest you observe our medical facilities feed. He signaled Martinez, who activated the station's external broadcast system. Multiple camera angles showed the medical bay in crisp detail. Tarn taking measured steps within his pod, Kex's steady breathing, and Lyra's wings growing visibly stronger with each passing minute. Impossible, Xerxes hissed, but his eyes remained fixed on the footage. Commander Raxus's vessels moved into flanking positions around Xerxes's warships. High Commander, Raxus's voice carried authority despite his junior rank, your crew should see this evidence. Security Chief Jackson's console lit up with alerts. Multiple unauthorized access attempts from Xerxes's flagship, their crews accessing our medical feeds independently. Morrison worked at his station, coordinating with encrypted channels. Centauri network activated. Broadcasting treatment success data from facilities across human space. The medical bay systems chimed as Lyra's wing regeneration entered a critical phase. Dr. Morales adjusted genetic calibrators with microscopic precision. Zachary, we need that portable shelter now. Any weapons fire could disrupt the genetic sequencing. Rodriguez directed his team in deploying the mobile medical unit. They worked with practiced efficiency, establishing a contained environment that could maintain treatment stability during emergency transport. New contacts, the sensor operator called out. 3 vessels, Draconis medical configuration. The lead medical ship transmitted identification codes. Admiral Celara's voice filled the command center. Brother, your crusade ends today. Xerxes's image showed visible shock. Celara, you dare. My daughter lives because of human medicine, she cut him off. Like these children, she was condemned by our laws. Human doctors saved her. Martinez's engineering team completed the final shield modifications. The defensive barrier hummed to life, its frequencies precisely tuned to deflect Draconis weapons while maintaining optimal treatment conditions. In the medical bay, Tarn pressed his hand against the pod's surface, watching the activity with clear understanding. Kex's vital signs displayed perfect stability. Lyra's wings continued their accelerated growth, each minute bringing new progress. Station Alpha, Xerxes's voice had lost its edge of certainty, maintained position while multiple voices erupted from his bridge, the sound of heated discussion carrying through the open channel. Commander Raxus seized the moment, transmitting his own data burst footage of rehabilitated Draconis children from across human space. The Empire's ruling council has convened, Colonel Hayes reported, checking his secured channels. The genetic purity faction is losing ground. Dr. Morales monitored Lyra's final treatment phase, the genetic sequences aligning perfectly. The wing membranes now showed distinctive patterns, a sign of healthy tissue integration. In the adjacent pod, Tarn executed a series of controlled movements, demonstrating full motor control. High Commander, Victor addressed the increasingly uncertain Xerxes, your fleet crews have seen the evidence. These children represent not contamination, but cooperation. Medical science has advanced beyond the assumptions behind your genetic laws. The reform movement vessels maintained their flanking positions as tension mounted. Admiral Celara's medical ships moved closer, their presence a clear statement of support for Station Alpha's position. Security Chief Jackson's team tracked multiple systems accessing the medical feeds from throughout the Draconis fleet. The evidence spread through their ranks, undermining centuries of genetic doctrine with undeniable visual proof. Dr. Morales adjusted the final treatment parameters, while Zachary verified the portable shelter's readiness. The next minutes would determine whether their medical breakthrough would change Draconis society or be lost in space combat. The station's defensive systems remained at full alert as the opposing fleets held their positions, the Mexican standoff in space reflecting the larger conflict between progress and tradition playing out across the Draconis Empire. The first boarding shuttle launched from Xerxes's flagship, cutting through space toward Station Alpha. Before it could reach halfway, its engines powered down, drifting to a stop. A second shuttle followed suit, then a third, their crews refusing to carry out the attack order. "High Commander, I cannot follow these orders." Lieutenant Commander Vex's voice carried across the bridge comm system. Security teams detained the High Commander. Xerxes spun toward his second-in-command. "This is treason. My sister's child died under these laws," Vex said, security officers moving to surround Xerxes. "No more children will suffer the same fate." In Station Alpha's medical bay, Lyra's wings twitched. Dr. Morales adjusted the neural stimulation parameters, and her wing membranes responded with a controlled flutter. "Full neuromuscular response confirmed," he announced, broadcasting the data. "Motor control pathways successfully integrated." The medical feeds transmitted across space, reaching every screen on Xerxes's flagship. Officers and crew gathered around displays, watching as Lyra's wings moved in precise patterns, responding to each neural signal. "Station Alpha, this is Admiral Celara," the transmission cut through the tension. "We have 6 medical vessels requesting emergency docking clearance. 37 children require immediate treatment." Victor's console lit up with an encrypted transmission from Draconis Central Command. His eyes scanned the text rapidly. "Colonel Hayes, the ruling council has suspended genetic purity law enforcement. All children aboard are under official protection. Engineering Team Delta, prepare cargo bays 3 through 6 for medical conversion," Zachary called through the comm. "Security teams to all docking points." Martinez's engineers moved with practiced efficiency, installing life support systems and medical equipment. The cargo bays transformed into treatment zones as Draconis medical ships approached the station. "Brother," Admiral Celara's image appeared on Xerxes's personal display in his no-secured quarters. "There's something you need to see." She transmitted medical records, genetic profiles, treatment protocols, and an image that made Xerxes sink into his chair. His grandson's face stared back at him, bearing the same genetic markers that had condemned thousands. Reform movement vessels took up defensive positions around Station Alpha. Commander Raxus coordinated their deployment while General Thorax's ship requested docking clearance. "Dr. Morales," General Thorax stepped into the medical bay, his scaled features tight with controlled emotion. "Show me everything." James Morrison accessed secure databases, displaying a network of hidden facilities across human space. 7,312 children saved, he reported. Full medical records available for review. In their treatment pods, Tarn executed a perfect series of mobility tests, while Kex's vital signs showed optimal readings. Lyra's wings continued responding to neural impulses, each movement more refined than the last. "Central Command has authorized full disclosure," Colonel Hayes announced. Earth's diplomatic corps is transmitting medical technology sharing protocols. The station's docking bays filled with Draconis medical ships as Martinez's teams rush to accommodate them. Dr. Morales's treatment protocols transferred to newly established medical stations, his team instructing Draconis medical personnel in the procedures. High Commander, Victor addressed Xerxes through a secure channel. Your presence is requested in Medical Bay 1. Escorted by Reform Movement security, Xerxes entered the medical bay. He watched Lyra's wings move with natural grace, saw Tarn demonstrate perfect motor control, and observed Kex's steady recovery. His grandson's medical pod waited in the adjacent bay, prepped for treatment. Security Chief Jackson's teams maintained vigilant watch as more ships arrived. The station's sensors tracked movement at the system's edge hardliner vessels gathering, but holding position as the Reform Movement fleet stood guard. Begin treatment phase for incoming patients, Dr. Morales directed. Cargo Bay 3, prepare for first wave. Genetic sequencing units online, stem cell protocols initialized. Station Alpha's transformation continued as the crisis shifted from military confrontation to medical emergency. Each successful treatment strengthened the case for reform, while the station's crew worked to accommodate the growing number of patients seeking help. Victor coordinated with Earth Central Command as diplomatic channels opened wider. The station's role expanded beyond a flashpoint of conflict into something unprecedented, a bridge between species built on medical cooperation and shared humanity. Victor coordinated the rapid transformation of Station Alpha's cargo bays, his console displaying a constant stream of incoming vessel requests. Medical Bay 3 online. Martinez, status on Bay 4. Environmental controls stabilized. Installing the last batch of treatment pods now. Martinez's engineering team moved with precision, converting industrial storage into sterile medical zones. Dr. Morales established his coordination center in the heart of Medical Bay 1, surrounded by holographic displays tracking each patient's status. Lyra's wings now moved with fluid grace as she executed another controlled flight test within her reinforced chamber. Full range of motion achieved, Dr. Morales noted, transmitting the data to the growing medical network. Neuromuscular response exceeding baseline parameters. The station shuddered slightly as another medical vessel locked into place. Admiral Celara's voice came through the comm, docking complete, transferring 12 patients to receiving area. Earth Support Vessel Hope requesting emergency docking clearance, Security Chief Jackson announced. Dr. Thomas Reed aboard. Victor authorized the request, watching as the sleek medical ship maneuvered into position. 3 more Earth vessels followed in its wake, their holds packed with critical supplies and additional medical staff. In the secure conference room, Zachary Ross faced High Commander Xerxes across a stark metal table. You understand the gravity of what you're sharing. Xerxes activated a data crystal, projecting a star map marked with 7 pulsing indicators. Facility Omega-3 holds 38 children. Delta-7 contains 52, each location. His voice faltered. Each one represents our shame. The coordinates transmitted directly to Earth Central Command, triggering immediate action. Colonel Hayes's tactical display lit up with rescue vessel deployments, Operation Sanctuary launching within minutes of receiving the intelligence. Dr. Reed strode into the Medical Coordination Center, his eyes widening at the sight of Lyra performing aerial maneuvers. Remarkable, the neural integration is perfect. The genetic sequences showed unexpected stability, Dr. Morales explained, pulling up detailed scans. Each defect we've treated appears to provide evolutionary advantages. Lyra's wing structure, for instance, demonstrates superior adaptation to low-gravity environments. General Thorax reviewed the medical data with Colonel Hayes, their joint oversight committee documenting every successful procedure. These patterns appear consistently across colonial populations, Thorax observed. Natural selection responding to environmental pressures. James Morrison's network hummed with encrypted activity as coordinates and transport routes flowed between human and Draconis vessels. Rescue Team Alpha reporting success at Facility Omega-3, beginning patient evacuation. Martinez's engineers loaded the latest batch of modular medical pods onto a waiting transport. Designs fully standardized now, he reported. Any station with basic life support can install and operate them. In Medical Bay 2, Kex helped a newly arrived child adjust to his treatment pod, explaining the procedure in calm, clear terms. Tarn demonstrated mobility exercises in the adjacent chamber, showing another group of patients their recovery potential. Admiral Crax's forces gathering in the Centauri sector, Security Chief Jackson reported. 3 attack squadrons confirmed. Victor studied the tactical display, noting the positioning of reform movement vessels around key medical facilities. Earth Central Command authorizes defensive operations to protect evacuation routes. Maintain present course. Doctor. Morales calibrated another set of treatment protocols as more patients arrived. Zachary, we need the next training session for Draconis medical staff in Bay 5. Focus on emergency stabilization procedures. The station's corridors filled with purposeful activity as human and Draconis medical teams worked side by side. Each successful treatment strengthened the bonds between their species, while in distant sectors, Admiral Crax's forces cast long shadows over their progress. Lyra landed gracefully in her chamber, her wings folding with natural precision. Through the observation window, she watched new patients arrive, her presence offering living proof of what their treatment could achieve. The Medical Coordination Center's displays tracked hundreds of active cases now, each one representing another step toward changing their society's future. Station Alpha's medical successes continued over the next 3 months, each day bringing new patients and breakthroughs. Doctor. Morales focused on perfecting the final treatment protocols for Lyra, Kex, and Tarn, their progress exceeding initial projections. The relative peace shattered when Station Alpha's proximity alerts blared. Security Chief Jackson's tactical display lit up with 12 warships dropping out of hyperspace. Admiral Crax's hardline fleet launching their desperate assault. Reform movement vessels moving to intercept, Commander Raxus announced through the command channel. Earth Defense Squadron Delta entering formation. Security stations activated across the station as Chief Jackson initiated defensive protocols. Shield generators hummed to full power while automated defense turrets tracked incoming vessels. Multiple torpedo launches detected, Victor reported from his console. Incoming ordnance from 3 vectors. The reform movement ships engaged Crax's fleet, energy weapons cutting bright lines through space. Earth defense vessels executed precise maneuvers, their advanced targeting systems isolating critical systems on the attacking ships. In Medical Bay 1, Dr. Morales monitored Lyra's final flight test. She soared through the zero-gravity chamber, her wings catching subtle air currents with unprecedented control. Motor response at 115% of baseline, he noted, recording the data. Kex demonstrated his enhanced respiratory capabilities in an adjacent chamber, seamlessly switching between different atmospheric mixtures. Tarn executed a series of complex acrobatic movements, his reconstructed limbs displaying strength and agility that surpassed standard Draconis parameters. The station shuddered as a glancing hit struck the outer shields. Chief Engineer Martinez's voice came through the comm. Electromagnetic pulse weapons primed. Targeting solutions locked. High Commander Xerxes stood in the communications center, his grandson's medical readings displayed beside him. Open a channel to all Draconis vessels, he ordered. The broadcast began, his voice carrying across every ship in the system. "I stand before you as witness to our mistakes," Xerxes transmitted. "My grandson lives today because we chose healing over hatred. These children we condemn, they represent our future, not our shame." On the tactical displays, ships from Crax's fleet began powering down weapons. 3 cruisers broke formation, turning to join the reform movement lines. Admiral Crax's flagship launched a desperate volley of torpedoes. "Execute electromagnetic strike," Commander Raxus ordered. Martinez's modified pulse weapons fired, precise beams of energy washing over Crax's remaining vessels. Systems flickered and died across the hardline fleet as non-lethal overload cascades disabled their ships. "Admiral Crax's flagship has lost power," Security Chief Jackson confirmed. "Remaining vessels signaling surrender." General Thorax and Admiral Celara convened an emergency session of the new Governing Council aboard Station Alpha. The Alpha Accords took shape over the next hours, a comprehensive treaty establishing permanent medical cooperation between humans and Draconis. Dr. Morales reviewed the final medical data in his office, now designated as the Director's Suite for the Joint Species Medical Research Center. Zachary Ross studied the operational proposals for the expanded facility, his new role as Chief of Operations already demanding his attention. In the station's educational wing, Lyra, Kex, and Tarn attended their first classes alongside human and Draconis children. Their adoptive families maintained quarters aboard the station, allowing Zachary regular visits with his honorary niece and nephews. The medical center's success grew exponentially. Treatment pods filled the converted cargo bays, each one representing another child freed from genetic restrictions. Martinez's engineering teams continued installing standardized medical facilities, while Dr. Reed trained new staff in the refined procedures. Station Alpha's promenade buzzed with activity as human and Draconis medical personnel collaborated on new research projects. The observation deck, transformed into a memorial space, displayed the original stasis pod alongside historical records and medical data documenting their shared progress. Victor coordinated the ongoing evacuation of underground facilities, each rescue mission bringing more children to safety. Security Chief Jackson maintained vigilant watch over the station's expanded operations, while Commander Raxus's vessels patrolled nearby sectors, ensuring the path to treatment remained open. Dr. Morales calibrated another set of treatment protocols as the number of successfully treated patients approached 10,000. The station's medical bays operated at full capacity, each successful procedure adding to their growing database of genetic research. Through the medical bay windows, Lyra practiced aerial maneuvers while new patients watched with hope, seeing living proof of what their treatments could achieve.